Well, hello, class. This is Professor Wilcox.
And Dr.
Um,
McClellan.
yeah, and we are going to take a second here to make sure we're actually broadcasting. Wouldn't that be a useful thing to do?
McClellan.
Yeah, and we are going to take a second. Oh, we are. We are actually broadcasting. A useful thing to do. And okay. So we've actually changed how we're having to do these broadcasts. So we just want to make sure that the way we embedded the video was the appropriate way to embed the video. So today we're going to introduce you to Music 133, and we're going to talk a little bit about Unit 1, which hopefully you'll have all wrapped up with a bow by the end of the week. We're also going to tell you a little bit about what you can expect in this course, and we're going to answer your questions. So if you notice, this is all happening inside a Piazza form. So go ahead and ask your questions. Type it right into the form, and then we'll refresh periodically and answer those questions. And if you are not with us tonight but watch later, you can go ahead and ask in the future, and we will still answer your questions. That's just the kind of instructors we are. We're constantly answering questions. So
yes, indeed.
Let's get going here. Let's make a start of it. How should we begin? How should we start about music? Should we get the uncomfortable conversation out of the way first?
Yeah, why not? Then we can have fun.
Music 133 is a police state. No, that's not true. It feels that way sometimes, though, because unfortunately there are many students who are interested in taking music, and we love all of you. Right now, there's well over 300 of you. But unfortunately, every semester, multiple students want to find a way to beat the system. And either get someone to take an exam for them or get someone to do their creative project for them. And we're here to tell you that it's just not worth it. That even sometimes we have people who get away with it but end up getting caught later when we finally figure out what the pattern is. So please, we're encouraging you now. Please do not cheat in Music 133. Unfortunately, we have very strict regulations we need to follow, and if we catch you cheating, we have to prosecute. There's no getting around it for us, and we hate it, but that's the fact of it. We know that you're taking this to get your arts requirement out of the way. We have no interest in making this more difficult than it needs to be, but if it happens, we have to pursue it. So please, don't do it. Just avoid it. And nothing in the course is that onerous. The creative projects are not so difficult that you need to go out and get somebody's help. We're not looking for you to be Mozart. We're not looking for you to write like Oscar Wilde. We're not looking for you to blow our socks off. Just pass the assignment. Just, make a good faith effort and you'll be fine. So that's our unpleasant message is, if you cheat, you create a lot of work for us and a lot of work for yourself, and it's just unpleasant. And so just skip it. Also, please, no advertising Course Hero services and other platforms. That's not studying. That's not group studying. That's group sharing of copyrighted content, and it is tantamount to cheating. So please do not go to those sites, pay for those sites, encourage other people to go to those sites. Thank you. Yep. Yeah, already had to delete one of those.
Oh yeah, yep.
So anyway, so let's move on to the fun stuff.
Yeah, we're glad you guys are here, and glad you're joining us. We've been running this course almost 10 years, and it's been through many iterations, gets better and better, and we've had many hundreds, thousands maybe now of happy students.
Tens of thousands.
And people, the cool thing for us, I think, about this course is that many of you, as we know from your introductions, are not, you haven't been doing only music all day long, every day of your lives, all your lives. You're multi-talented and you've done many other things, and you have many talents. And some of you don't know tons about music. Others of you have some knowledge, but most of you are not specialists. And that's what this course is for. It's for people like you who really walk in the door sort of with a blank slate. And we love that because we want to start from the ground up and teach you the very basics of music notation. And then before long in the creative projects, you're going to be composing original music, which sounds like a huge journey from like nothing to being a composer, which could sound a little intimidating, but we walk you through step by step by step. And we've had thousands of students do extremely well in the course, even when they walked in knowing very little. So you should go with confidence and know that you're going to do great.
No, it's your opportunity, perhaps maybe one of your only opportunities in your life to have the opportunity to compose. So if you've taken a poetry class, you get your opportunity to write some poetry. You take a music class, you get an opportunity to write and notate some music. And it's a matter of exposure. So you should have fun, and we want you to play around with it, but also to think intelligently about it. So that's what this class is about. And that's what this class is for. And hopefully that's how you'll use this class.
Yeah, I thought maybe we could give the big like landmarks of the course, because I had a student asking about the exam. I just want to mention, like, basically here's the entire course.
I'm scared now of the exam.
The exam, right? So there's basically lessons and then assignments with each lesson. Make sure you read the lessons before you do the assignment. Even if you know music, there's going to be stuff in there that you are fuzzy on or you forgot. Then there is the core concepts exam, but it's not at the end.
But you were a musician when you went to college. I'm sure you knew all this stuff, right?
No, I did. There was big gaps in my knowledge that I thought I was confidently going along thinking I knew everything. And then I realized, like, wait a minute, there's a whole other clef. There's treble clef and bass clef. And my mind was blown.
When I went to college, I knew like the first 3 or 4 lessons. I knew like a couple of lessons in Unit 2, and I might have known 1 or 2 lessons in Unit 3, maybe. But the rest of it was no. And even the lessons I knew the content for, I didn't know all of it, and I didn't know a lot of the definitions.
Yeah, so if that's you, it's
even
completely
if you've studied music before, even if you planned on going to a music major, even if you thought of yourself as a dedicated musician, there's still stuff in here you haven't seen before.
Yeah,
for sure, absolutely.
Definitely. So maybe I should share my screen and just
cover up our faces. Yes. Do. Yes.
How do I do this? Okay.
We used to be younger.
Okay. Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah.
All right, can you see that okay?
Sure.
So this is the announcement that you all received recently on September 12th, and I thought I would just walk through it because in case you didn't, some of you may have neglected to carefully read all of it. And it's just important to make sure you have these big pieces of knowledge. One is that this has actually changed. The Unit 1 is now due this coming Friday. We did an extension. So it is not due tomorrow, it's due on Friday. But don't let that mean that you wait till Thursday night, because you will regret it. Yeah, this is really important to know. Save your work as you go along. We've had too many students lose the middle of their homework, and it's tragic, and we don't want that to happen to you. The gradebook info, I want to really emphasize this because it's really confusing, and it's not our fault. I can say that truthfully. This is something we can't control that's built into the Canvas platform that just makes it really confusing. And what it is that when you open your gradebook, it shows you the percentage of the work that of the assignments you've done. So let's say you've done one assignment, that you have 100%. Now it's mid-semester and you have done half of the assignments and you've done very well on them. And now you have like a 95%. So you're like, okay, cool, I'm done with this course. I have a 95%. I can just skip all the rest of the work for the rest of the semester and be done with it. But that makes no sense because there's still half the work that you haven't even done. So you need to switch the gradebook so that it shows the total of the entire coursework that you've actually done, because that's how the course is graded. So this explains that. So you basically have to show the total work completed, not the average of whatever work you happen to have completed. So if this is not clear, if you're not 100% sure what I'm talking about, read this carefully, ask us questions. But your one takeaway is just don't trust what you see in the gradebook when you first open it. Make sure you're looking at your true grade and not, we've actually had people who thought they had an A at the end of the semester and they had a D or an F, and it's really, really sad when that happens. Going back to here, we'll come back to Unit 1, but let's just do the broad strokes on the course. Basically, you've got, let me go back to home. We've got 6 units, and the 3 big landmarks that I mentioned are Creative Project 1, Core Concepts Exam, and Creative Project 2. And those are, each of those 3 is worth a lot of your grade. So plan ahead, make sure you're ready, and make sure you understand what those are, and we'll talk more about them. And then there's really no final exam. We sort of put it in the middle of the semester so you're not cramming along with all your other exams. And we'll talk more about the exam when the time comes in Unit 4, but as with everything in the course, we take pains to make sure that it's really, really doable. That
Yeah,
if you
I mean,
understand,
I don't mind
work,
saying,
you will do well.
we can say a little bit about the core concept exam. We decided, you know, again, because we're cool people, to not burden you with necessarily with a final, but what we've created is an exam that hits what we consider to be the most important concepts of the course. That if you walked away from this course, what would we want you to be able to do? And those are what's in the core concept exam, which are, you know, creating scales, doing some simple rhythmic divisions, and doing some note identifications, and also knowing a little bit about harmonic names and functions. So those are the important things, and you'll learn all of those in the first 3 units. So the core concept exam is a compilation of several of the homework assignments through the first 3 units. And there is a practice exam that you can do as many times as you want to. The core concepts exam is a one-time exam that is proctored through, Proctor Track. But it's pretty straightforward. You'll have had all the practice that you want on a test that's identical from the same question banks as the exam, and we're here to help you, and we'll give you a review session in advance. So don't feel shy about that. You'll be fine. I guess
Yes.
Professor McClellan is checking to make sure that we have no questions.
Yeah, but I don't see am I missing something? I don't see our video.
Reload, good sir.
Oh, yes. But of course, oh, yes. How could I miss it?
We have questions. I see comments. No?
No.
No.
It was the product of your
Maybe
fever
it was,
imagination.
yes, fever dream.
It must have been a different post. Yeah, so this is, since you can see my screen now, you are currently watching this nice video, and you can put a question into here like this. And then we'll answer it like this. Only actually, it will be slightly more informative than that.
We'll answer it verbally.
Oh, right.
So,
We'll answer it verbally. Yes.
yeah, that would
Good.
be better.
That would be better. That's
That would
partly
be,
the point of this video thing.
yeah, that
Um,
would be the way to do it.
yeah. So what else should we make sure to cover? Should we jump into some Unit 1 material or what?
Well, we've talked a little bit about the creative project. We're gonna ask you to write a short melody and talk about what you did and why. And that's also what we'll do with Creative Project 2. It'll just be a little more in depth.
Yeah.
You'll be dealing with some harmony in that. And the chord project is you'll identify some musical chords in a passage of music. But again, none of these are overwhelming in terms of your grade, and only the core concept exam. Um, uh, yeah. Okay.
Sorry. I tried to get a mosquito.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you were like applauding me or only the core concept exam can be taken the one time. So yeah, why don't we talk a little bit about Unit 1, which is about pitch. But I think generally with Unit 1, where people have a little trouble is sometimes counting those enharmonic pitches,
Yeah.
and sometimes with some of the movable clef and maybe the ottava signs.
Yeah. I just want to point out the navigation. I had one student ask me, like, so she ended up in the assignments without having seen the lessons, and she understandably said, well, how do I do the assignment if I don't know what to do? So I just want to point out to make sure it's clear to everyone that for every assignment there is a lesson and vice versa, and it's really meant to flow from like you learn the material, you practice the material, learn the material, practice. So I'll just do that flow quickly for you. Lesson 1, and you go through, read the good stuff, watch all the little graphics, which are all very, very cool, and then do the assignment. So just make sure you're sort of following that flow. Again, even if you know what a musical staff is and you've played piano since you were 5, like just scan through, because you might see stuff like, wait a minute, I thought I knew this, but what the heck is that thing? Like, what the heck is a ledger line? You probably know that if you've played piano, but again, you may not. So assignment. Oh yeah, we probably don't need to go deep into this particular assignment, but I will just show you that you are basically figuring out what's an ascending leap or an ascending step or a descending leap or a descending step. And that's very important to understand for basic note reading. Let me go back and, as Dr. Wilcox said, let's talk about, we'll skip right over to enharmonics. Let's see here. You'll notice in the assignments a fair amount of repetition of the same type of question over and over. And the reason for that is we think of this as kind of like learning a language, where when you're learning a new language, you often practice the same words and the same vocabulary and the same grammatical structures over and over and over. And the idea is that the repetition is actually how you learn, because it's really easy to hear it once and then be like, oh, I got it. But it has to become second nature. And so with something like note reading, you have to start to be able to identify like a B flat instantly. It's fine at first if it takes you a couple minutes to kind of like remember where it is and figure it out and pinpoint on the staff. But eventually, as the tasks become more complicated, if you're having to do that every single time, you'll flail. Like if I, for example, was learning Russian, if I had to remember what each letter looks like every single time I read a sentence, I would never be able to really speak or read Russian. It has to become instantaneous and second nature, the way our native languages and native reading is. So we're trying to get you to be natives, musical natives. So that's why there's like a bazillion of the same type of question. You know, and you might go the first three and be like, I get it, guys. Like, I know what you're asking here. Why do I have to do so many of these? And that's the reason. Anyway, spiel over. With enharmonics, you have to remember that every note on the piano keyboard has at least two names. And I wish I had the little keyboard pop up here. Where is that? Well, I'll just briefly mention it. I'll go through these. Enharmonic equivalent of D flat. So picture in your mind, piano keyboard, D flat is the black key between the two white keys C and D. And it can be called D flat if you think of it as the key to the left of D. But if you think of it as the key to the right of C sharp, of C, then it's C sharp. So one key, two names, D flat and C sharp, and that's basically what enharmonics are. The trickiest ones are when there's two white notes next to each other, and that's what this is a case of. So remember, where there's two white notes B and C next to each other, that oddly enough means that the one on the left, which is B, is C flat, and the one on the right is also known as B sharp. So that's probably one of the more confusing things in this unit. And if you get stuck, just pop over onto Piazza and ask us questions. But it really helps to use the piano keyboard to make sure that you can see visually, oh yeah, that key is next to this white note, which is, for example, F sharp is the one just to the right of the white F key, but it is also the same one is just to the left of the G white key, so it's also G flat, and so on. Oh yeah, here's our keyboard. I'll just blow it up. So we were just looking at F sharp, which is this key, and this white key is F. I don't know if you can see my mouse. And this white key is G. So that's, if you're coming from G, it's G flat, and if you're coming from F, it's F sharp. But anyway, this part of the assignment asks you to basically just identify notes on the keyboard. And you can see the little X. Some of them are a little hard to see, but for example, this one is the note G. Oof. So you just have to be able to identify those. That one's a little tricky, but it's B flat or A sharp. Don't type it in that way though. Pick one or the other. Yeah, I don't want to belabor this, but ask us questions if you have them. And then we have assignment. You mentioned we should do assignment 7, right? Yeah, so these are ottava signs are a shorthand to make the note an octave higher or lower than written, which means, let me do one in the treble clef because people are usually a little more familiar with treble clef. Let me do a slightly easier note. Oh, none of them are easy. Okay, that's C sharp in the treble clef, which is a very high note. And if you blow up the keyboard, we can find that note on the piano. Let's ignore the ottava sign. 8VA is high. It means move the note up, and 8VB means move the note down an octave. I shouldn't say move it, but read it an octave higher or lower than it's written. So let's find this C sharp as written before we consider the 8VA. So note 40 right here is middle C, which is the first ledger line here. So jump up an octave to the C on the second space down, and that's note number 52. Jump up one more octave, that's note number 64. With a sharp is note number 65, which is this black key just to the right of note 64, which is C natural. So you got that. We're now on this nice black key, which is a C sharp. Now that's the note that's written, if that's all there was. Now we take into account the 8 VA, and now we have to leap an octave, zoop. And now we're on the C sharp just to the right of note 76, which is pitch 77. So there's a few different steps that you have to go through. Let's do one quickly in the other direction. So now we've got an 8 VB ottava bassa, or whatever it's, however you say it in Italian. And what note is this? Well, it is B sharp, which gives us a little practice in the enharmonic domain as well. So let's again go down from middle. It's usually good to start on middle C as a reference. It's this green one. So it's one ledger line above the staff. Then jump down an octave to the second space from the bottom. That's note 28. C down an octave. Then down another octave to note 16, which is this second ledger line. And then down one more note to B, because that's what the written note is, B. But then we have a sharp, so we go back up 1 to 16, because it's the enharmonic equivalent of C natural. Hope you're with me. And then that's what we have as the written note. But there's an 8 VB right here, which means we dropped from 16 all the way down to 4. So 4. So there's, again, a few different steps. And if you're methodical, and this is a good illustration of how the entire course is designed, is it might, when you just look at it, you're like, what the heck is that? There's this 8 VB and an harmonic, and it feels overwhelming. But with every single thing in this course, if you are methodical and you go step by step, very slowly and very carefully, you can figure it out. We guarantee it. We've seen thousands of students do it. So it's like a guaranteed, scientifically proven that you can do this course. And that's also going back to the very beginning, why you don't need to get any illegal and unsolicited help, namely cheating, because you can do it yourself. So this is a good illustration of that. It looks overwhelming, but it can be done if you go step by step. And if you need help with what the steps are, we are here to help. And you can ask on Piazza too. So that's my spiel.
It's a good spiel.
Thank you.
Yeah. Should we see if there's questions and then wrap it up?
Yes, let's do it. Questions. Oh, we got them.
Oh, Oscar.
I don't have too much previous experience with what we are learning in Unit 1 and have been able to learn which notes are in the musical staff. Treble, clef, bass, clef. But I'm having a lot of trouble finding the key numbers in the keyboard for the homework. Is there any way to trick to learn which number key is each note a little faster? I think that's a great question. Thank you. I think you may be referring to like the numbers on the keyboard, like we were looking at. As I'm talking, feel free to jump into Piazza and correct me if I'm not understanding, but I think we were over here. Oh no, that's not the one. It was the ottava one, maybe.
Oh, well, this one does it too. It might be easier to start with this, because he's got the clefs down. He's having trouble with defining the.
Yeah.
But the repetitive nature of the keyboard might be a help to him. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great point. We'll come back to this in future units as well, but we think of the piano keyboard as a kind of map of music theory that repeats every octave, and it's sort of a geography of music theory. It can really help you if you can if you're not familiar with it, if you can learn to be sort of memorize how it looks. And the key point is there's sort of two key elements. There's black versus white notes, and sort of understanding that distinction. And then the black keys are in a pattern of 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3. So that lets you locate every note has a unique location. Like, for example, E is the white note next to the two black notes, or this A flat is the middle of the 3 black notes, or you know, D is the white note between the 2 black notes. So you can memorize and instantly spot every individual note within the octave, and then it repeats. So that if you can spend some time with the keyboard, just get to know it, pretend it's a new friend, and just like hang out with it and get to know it. That will help. I'm not sure if I answered that question, but let us know if not. Hanji, let's see. For the exam, we are able to use notes, or do we need to memorize everything on the lessons, like every key on the piano with the corresponding note? Also, do we have review sessions for the exams? So for the exam, it's not an open book exam. You can't bring any material to it, and you also can't have a browser window with the answers hidden behind the exam window, because our Proctor Track software will spot that, and it'll see that you're cheating, and that's very bad. But we do let you bring blank paper and a pencil into the exam, so that you can write down notes for yourself.
And so there'll be a piano keyboard image that you can look at that will help you.
Exactly.
Help you do your counting. But you should be able to count from, you should be able to know by sight the notes on the keyboard, and you should be able to know by sight, you should be able to, read notes within the staff in treble and bass clef without too much trouble, and be able to count to ledger lines above and below the staff pretty easily. Yep. So hopefully by the time you get to take, by the end of the 4th unit, and that's one of the reasons it's there, you should be able to really be able to identify notes pretty quickly. And I don't believe we have piano note identification in the core concept examination.
I don't think so.
No. But there'll be other types of things to do with the piano there, but.
Yeah, and when you when the word memorize kind of
we'll have review sections.
We definitely will have reviews for each unit and also the exam. And when you say memorize, I just want to comment on that, because when you look at that piano keyboard, for example, it looks overwhelming. Like, do I have to remember each? Like, there's 88 different notes. Do I have to memorize each one? And in a sense, yes, but in another sense, no, because what you're really doing is identifying patterns. And already you can see that there's really only 12 notes that repeat. So if you know the 12 notes, then you can find them anywhere on this span of 88 notes. So it's really like starting, you're really going to end up only memorizing like a few small pieces of information and then putting them together into larger patterns. So you're not just like memorizing vast amounts of information. You're memorizing a few key points and then learning how to put them all together.
I don't remember which lesson we discuss at 3 or 4, lesson 3 or lesson 4. We talk about the difference between pitch and pitch class.
Yeah.
So you have to know the pitch class C. So you'll be able to know where every C on the keyboard is. But we're not, you'll know what a C on a keyboard looks like, but we might not ask you to identify C4 or C8 or something like that. That's not going to be on the exam portion.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Just to review the that concept. But one of the nice things about the piano keyboards, it's designed to be visually distinctive. It's designed so that you can track those repetitions. If the piano keyboard was just white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, all the way from top to bottom, there'd be no way to play it.
Yeah. And this is kind
It
of,
would look like a zebra.
this is a little like kind of a good illustration, because what you see here is the 12 notes of one octave with the two black notes plus three black notes. And then the next octave starts and it's sort of grayed out. So you can see that it repeats the two black notes. It's really the same thing again. And then it just continues like that forever, up and down. So really the only thing you're memorizing is this small set of 2 plus 3 black notes and the white notes in between. So it's really, that's all it boils down to. Yeah, I hope that helps. Don't see any other questions. Should we hang out for 1 second to see if anybody has more?
You know, if people have more questions, or you know, they can ask. They can ask in the Piazza forum, or they can write to us directly. We're definitely here to answer questions, but the message really is, you know, have no fear. I mean, this is not super difficult. You need to be able to count to 12. You need to be able to, you know, think, you know, kind of logically, almost a little mathematically about these things. But you know, the most important thing is you need to be able to reach out and ask for help if you need it. And if you need it, we'll be here to help you. And even though there's a lot of you, we're committed to making this as painless as possible. Our only, request is that you do all the work yourself, and that you're patient when it comes time to grading with creative projects, because there are 300 of you, and we look at every single one of those projects, and it takes us a little bit of time. So,
yep.
But welcome to Music 133. We're happy to have you here this fall, and hopefully you'll have a great experience and have a great time.
Yes, and we are always here to help. If I'm speaking for myself, if you email me and like I don't get back to you as soon as you need, just hit me up again. Like I'll always respond as quickly as I can, but I don't mind being reminded and all that. Like we're here to help, and if we're both doing other jobs and other things, but we're very committed to this course, and you're our huge priority. So don't ever hesitate to like remind us or clarify something, or like we're here for you and for you to get a good experience.
Yeah, similarly, if I don't get back to you as quickly as you need, go ahead and write again. And we're all suffering with the Microsoft Outlook 365 mailbox that they've jammed us into, and sometimes it decides what messages are important and what aren't. So, you know, feel free to give us a poke if we didn't answer your question.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna sign off and wish you all the best.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.